from American Public Media.
And we are live from here at Town Hall in New York City! And here is your host, Chris Thile.
Ahoy! Let's hear it for our musical director, Mike Elizondo. Our house band tonight includes Alex Hargraves on fiddle, Matt Stevens on guitar, Eric Doob on drums, and Alex Brown on keys. Oh, we have a wonderful, wonderful show for you tonight. Our guests are Joseph. Ann Patchett is here. Mr. Tom Papa. Becca Stevens. John Cameron Mitchell. And Dawes. Live from here is supported by Progressive Insurance, small business protection for more than vehicles with specialized coverages to protect against financial loss. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by Noom, offering a personalized weight loss program that uses psychology and small goals to help lose weight and keep it off for good. Learn more at Noom, Noom.com. Live from here is produced by American Public Media. I'm out in the country, gravel road to ramble all around. I'm out in the country, gravel road to ramble all around. The dust blows up till the cool rain tumbles down. I'm a red-winged blackbird, sit singing on the fence. I'm a red-winged blackbird. Sing sitting on a fence. They're saying it's okay all day, but no one seems convinced. I'm a little old past the creek, got no name for me. I'm a little old pasture creek, got no name for me. And when I grow up, I'm gonna be the Mississippi. And again I say, ahoy! Ahoy! I've been singing that song to myself all week, out in the country, written by Greg Brown, making believe of a hot summer day in Iowa. Was Greg Brown, I believe, when he wrote that song. I think it got stuck in my head while I was playing make-believe with my little boy a few days ago. He was pretending to fly and attack his prey, and I was pretending that I wasn't looking at my phone. But getting to make believe again is one of the great joys of parenthood. You know what for sure isn't? applying for kindergarten. It's horrible is, I think, the word I'm looking for. These applications make you feel like if your kid isn't an actual superhero with a super compelling origin story to match, don't even bother. I thought our 4-year-old was an adorable, happy little kid with a bright future ahead of him until I started having to answer questions like, and I quote, "How is your child going to help actualize this school's sense of community?" By enrolling? Which of your child's accomplishments will be most enriching to their fellow classmates? Well, he almost never licks his finger after he picks his nose anymore. Describe your child. Sweet? Sticky? We are completely at a loss, and so we decided to ask Calvin, "Hey, buddy, what would you like this school to know about you?" "Well, I'm a dinosaur." Which, oh my God, clears up so much. And also proves he's my child because my own origin story is virtually the same. I, too, was a dinosaur. In fact, the first song I ever wrote was my own theme song as a rampaging 2-year-old T-Rex. And I regret to inform you, dear listener, that I remember every note of that theme song. Dun 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 dun. Wait for it. Dun. Oh yes. Oh yes. Really, the only thing that's changed since then is I have a band now. Thank you so much. I love you. Hey, as Kurt Vonnegut put it, we are what we pretend to be. The ferns in my backyard never actually turned into that mighty Jurassic forest I was imagining, but my mom's old wooden tennis racket did turn into this mandolin. And Dad's trusty toilet plunger is, in fact, this microphone on the stand in front of me right now. We are what we pretend to be. And Vonnegut continues, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. I'm not sure which Brooklyn kindergartens are looking to actualize their communities with a dinosaur, but I hope Calvin keeps pretending to be one. Pretty cool origin story, if you ask me. I'm a farmer's long shiny car, running out of gas. I'm a farmer's long shiny car, running out of gas. With the bikes and the tracks and the mopeds whizzing past, I'm a chicken, picking in the corn. I'm a chicken. Picking in the corn. And my mama says I was around when I was born, but I don't believe that. I'm a little old raccoon, I got candles in my eyes. I'm a little never would have rambled all around. And the farm gets bigger and the old home place fall down. And the farm gets bigger and the old home place fall down. And the farm gets bigger and the old home place fall down. Thank you so much. Happy fall, everybody. This is exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, Dawes.
With his back against the San Francisco traffic, on the bridge's side that faces towards the jail, setting out to join a demographic. He hoists his first leg up over the rail. Then a phone call's made and police cars show up quickly. The sheriff slams his passenger door. He says, "Hey kid, why don't you talk through this with me? Just tell me what you're doing it for." Oh, it's a little bit of everything. It's the mountains, it's the fog, it's the news at 6 o'clock. It's the death of my first dog. It's the angels up above me. It's a song that they don't sing. It's a little bit of everything. But there's an older man who stands in a buffet line. He is smiling and he's holding out his plate. And the further that he looks back into his timeline, that hard road always led him to today. He's making up for when his bright future just left him. He's making up for the fact that his only son is gone, and letting everything out once his server asks him, "Have you figured out yet what it is you want?" I'll have a little bit of everything, the biscuits and the beans, whatever helps me to forget about these things that brought me to my knees. So pile on those mashed potatoes, and how about an extra chicken wing? 'Cause I'll be having a little bit of everything. Somewhere a pretty girl is writing invitations for her wedding that she has scheduled in the fall. Her man walks in and says, "Baby, could I just make one quick observation? You don't seem to be having any fun at all." She says, "Well, you could just worry about your groomsmen and your shirt size, and rest assured that this is making me feel good. I think that love is so much easier than we realize. If you can give yourself to someone, then you should." 'cause it's a little bit of everything. The way you laugh, the way you wake. It's getting up way before you, so I could just sit there and watch you as you wake. So on that day in late September, it's not just some stupid little ring. I'll be getting a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of everything. It's the matador and the bull. It's the suggested daily dosage. It's the red moon when it's full. All these psychics and these doctors, they're all right and they're all wrong. It's like trying to make out every word when they should simply hum along. It's not some message written in the dark or some truth that no one's seen. It's just a little bit of everything. Thank you. It's really nice to be here. Of dreams I was offered to save. I lived less like a workhorse, more like a slave. I thought that one quick moment that was noble or brave would be worth the most of my life. So I pointed my fingers and shouted few quotes I knew, as if something that is written should be taken as true. But every path that I've taken or conclusion I drew will put truth back under the knife. And now the only piece of advice that continues to help is anyone that's making anything new only breaks something else. When my time comes, I wanted to pay for my successes with all my defeats. And if heaven was all that was promised to me, why don't I pray for death? 'Cause now it seems like the unraveling started too soon. And now I'm sleeping in hallways, drinking perfume, speaking to mirrors, howling at moons, while the worse and worse that it gets. You could judge the whole world on the sparkle you think it lasts. You could stare to the abyss, but it's staring right back. When my time comes, You could stare into the abyss, but it's staring right back. When my time comes,
Thank you. Ooh, where has that chorus been all my life? Beautiful singing too, fellas. Good Lord. Oh, and now won't you make welcome to the airwaves, Miss Ann Patchett. So I feel lucky, and I mean I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I know Ann. We have hung out now on multiple occasions, and I want to say that whenever Ann walks into a room, the conversation deepens. Wherever Ann goes, there's this sort of orb of imminent depth. A glowing orb of imminent depth. And when Ann kind of sidles up, you know that it's about to get deeper. It's about to get real. You're about to talk about life.
That's right. That's why I'm here. Yeah.
You are also here because you have a new novel, The Dutch House, but you also run Parnassus Books down in Nashville. And I'm not trying to start a public radio Twitter flame war here, but I do think it might be the coolest bookstore in the world.
Thank you very much. And also, proof of that is that I am now following Dawes. You show me another bookseller who's following Dawes. No.
I probably not
I have
tonight.
never felt so cool in my life.
We haven't either. This is such a treat. Thank you so much for coming. You want to set us up for what we can expect with this next piece?
You know what? This is from the beginning of the novel, and all you need to know is that the person who is speaking is Danny, so just see me as a young boy. I'm sure you do anyway.
Ann Patchett.
I will always believe that Andrea's face fell for an instant when she looked at Maeve and me. Even if my father hadn't mentioned his children, she would have known that he had them. Everyone in Elkins Park knew what went on in the Dutch house. Maybe she thought that we would stay upstairs. She'd come to see the house, after all, not the children. Or maybe the look on Andrea's face was just for Maeve, who, at 15 and in her tennis shoes, was already a head taller than Andrea in her heels. Maeve had been inclined to slouch when it first became apparent that she was going to be taller than all the other girls in her class and most of the boys, and our father was relentless in his correction of her posture. Head up, shoulders back, might as well have been her name. For years, he thumped her between the shoulder blades with the flat of his palm whenever he passed her in the room, the unintended consequence of which was that Maeve now stood like a soldier in the Queen's court, or like the Queen herself. Even I could see how she might have been intimidating, her height, the shining black wall of hair, the way she would lower her eyes to look at a person rather than bend her neck. But at 8, I was still comfortably smaller than the woman our father would later marry. I held out my hand to shake her little hand and said my name. Then Maeve did the same. Though the story will be remembered that Maeve and Andrea were at odds right from the start, that was not true. Maeve was perfectly fair and polite when they met, and she remained fair and polite until doing so was no longer possible. "How do you do?" Maeve said. And Andrea replied that she was very well. Andrea was well. Of course she was well. It had been Andrea's goal for years to get inside the house, to loop her arm through our father's arm when going up the wide stone steps and across the red-tiled terrace. She was the first woman our father had brought home since our mother left, though Maeve told me that he had had something going with our nanny for a while, an Irish girl named Fiona. "You think he was sleeping with Fluffy?" I asked her. Fluffy was what we called Fiona when we were children, partly because I had a hard time with her name and partly because of the soft waves of red hair that fell down her back in a transfixing cloud. The news of this affair came to me, as most information did, many years after the fact, in a car parked outside the Dutch house with my sister. "Either that or she cleaned his room in the middle of the night," Maeve said. My father, infant Fluffy, in flagranto delicto. I shook my head. I can't picture it. You shouldn't try to picture it. God, Danny, that's disgusting. Anyway, you were practically a baby during the Fluffy administration. I'm surprised you even remember her. But Fluffy had hit me with a wooden spoon when I was 4 years old. I still have a small scar in the shape of a golf club beside my left eye, the mark of Fluffy, Maeve called it. Fluffy claims she'd been cooking a pot of applesauce when I startled her by grabbing her skirt. She said she was trying to get me away from the stove and had certainly never meant to hit me, though I think it would be hard to accidentally hit a child in the face with a spoon. The story was only interesting insofar as it was my only distinct memory of another person or the Dutch house or my own life. I didn't have a single memory of our mother, but I remembered Fluffy's spoon cracking into the side of my head. I remembered Maeve, who had been down the hall when I screamed, flying into the kitchen the way the deer would fly across the hedgerow at the back of the property. She threw herself into Fluffy, knocking her to the stove, blue flames leaping as the boiling pot of applesauce crashed to the floor so that we were all burned in pinpoint splatters. I was sent to the doctor's office for 6 stitches, and Maeve's hand was wrapped, and Fluffy was dismissed. Even though I can remember that she was crying and saying how sorry she was, how it was only an accident, she didn't want to go. That was our father's relationship, according to my sister, and she should know because if I was 4 when I got that scar, she was already 11.
The great Ann Patchett. Thank you for that, Ann. From her new novel, The Dutch House. More from Ann later in the show. Do you know who's here is Becca Stevens? Becca, I'm so glad you're finally here. We've been talking about trying to get you on forever. You're here. You have a sort of origin story adjacent number for us. Tell us about Regina.
I do. So this song is called Regina, and the first verse takes place in North Carolina, where I was born and raised. And I reference the dogwood tree, which is our state flower. And the story sort of goes through different chapters of my life or any woman's life, any person's life who's having different experiences that strips away their strength and then trying to regain that strength. Regina in the song sort of means queen. So, Regina, won't you come back home? Carved a heart in a dogwood tree, found a song in everything. Nothing to lose and nothing to gain. Barefoot dancing in the pouring rain. Oh no, no, no. Regina, won't you come back home? Done a daddy proud, made a mama shine. Found beauty in the night through a child's eyes. Lit up life like a firefly. She lost her way along a wandering path. She can't get it back. She can't get it back. But it's the wanderer who finds her soul. Lord only knows you had a long road. Regina, won't you come back home? Ooh, 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 ooh. Regina, won't you come back home? Ooh, 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 She loved a man and he let her down. She took an apron for a crown. She knew a girl who lived out loud, but she don't ever come around no more. Regina, won't you come back home? What happened to you? What happened? What happened to you? Time flew by and she let it go. Used to laugh, but now she don't. Little girl dreams all turned to stone. Spends all day on the telephone saying no, no, no. She lost her way along a wandering path. She can't get it back. She can't get it back. But it's the wanderer who finds her soul. Lord only knows you had a long road. Ooh, 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 ooh. Regina, won't you come back home? Ooh, 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 ooh. Regina, won't you come back home?
It's Becca Stevens. Regina. Before our local break this week, the good people of Town Hall and I want to send out our heartiest ahoy to our friends listening on KUNR out there in the great state of Nevada. Thank you so much for tuning in. This one's for you. It's a song I wrote about one of Nevada's favorite sons, Cubs and Braves pitching great, Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux, the professor, Mad Dog, born and raised and still lives in the quaint hamlet of Las Vegas. He was the idol of my youth. I would request his number on my Little League jerseys, number 31. I pored over his box score lines in the Murray, Kentucky Ledger and Times, a 73-pitch complete game shutout. Woo! You get him, Maddux. I even intentionally lost 20 pounds when I was 17 years old so I could be the same height and weight as my hero, Greg Maddux. Amazing what happens when you cut out 5 of your 6 daily Mountain Dews. But this song isn't about me, it's about him and me. Here's movement and location. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, Live from Here. Welcome back to Live from Here. A baseball song there for you. Movement and location about Las Vegas. Great, Craig Maddox. And now it's time to welcome our traveling correspondent, comedian Tom Papa, in a segment we call Out in America.
Thank you, Chris. On behalf of Live from Here, I continue my journey across the country, shining a light on all the good people in America. This week, I put on my blue suede shoes, puffed up my chest hair, and headed off to Las Vegas, Nevada. When we got off the plane, you could tell that autumn was here as temperatures in the desert had dipped below 110. You've got to love a city whose origin was born out of a desire to drink and gamble without the police getting in the way. Have you ever stumbled out of a bar in Vegas with a new friend under your arm and realized you hadn't left the airport yet? I have. I got an Uber to the hotel with a driver who looked like he could be a Vegas mascot. He was about 50 years old, had a mohawk, mirrored sunglasses, rings on every finger, and was chewing gum like a nervous squirrel. He said he loves driving because he only needs to sleep every third day. I buckled up. As he merged onto the freeway, he pointed out the new football stadium that will be home to the Las Vegas Raiders next season after they break Oakland's heart and move away. That's why I got the mohawk, he said. I'm going to be part of Raider Nation and get myself on TV. He honked the horn and held a fist out the window as we passed. I gripped the seatbelt tighter. He dropped me at the hotel where 7 bellhops descended on my wheelie bag looking for a tip. Why is it that whenever you're checking into a nice hotel, you're attacked by a group of panhandlers dressed like toy soldiers? I understand that they want to tip, but all they did was raise the handle on my bag. And to make matters worse, I checked my pocket and all I had was a 20. Have you ever given a bellhop a nice $20 tip only to have 8 other bellhops give you the finger? I have. I checked in and got my room key, and as is typical in Vegas, it took 3 elevators and a 10-mile walk to get to my room. Vegas doesn't want you in your room very long. They only have 10 channels on TV, mostly in languages I don't understand. And the only food was a minibar with Pringles at $50 a can. So I headed down to the casino and made a quick stop at the all-you-can-eat buffet. This is truly a sight. If you ever wonder whether you can win in Vegas, go to the buffet. You'll see Americans of every shape and size who might have lost all their money, but are now getting it all back in the form of banana cream pies and Alaskan king crab legs. I saw a woman pouring salsa into her purse. I saw a father load plates onto his children's backs like they were donkeys. I sat next to Stan from Fort Worth, Texas. He had been there 4 days and had the bloodshot eyes to prove it. 3 days is usually my limit, he said, but I got on a hot streak and then a cold streak, and I'm not leaving till I'm hot again. It sounded like if he wasn't careful, he'd end up living in the plastic gutter on the fake streets of New York, New York. He looked like a hardcore gambler dressed with a crisp white cowboy hat and a gold Texas Longhorn chain. I asked him what game he plays. He took a sip of his beer, lowered his hat, looked me right in the eye and said, "Son, I play the Wheel of Fortune slots." Something about watching that wheel turn around while the crowd chants "Wheel of Fortune" just makes me crazy. Vegas has a ton of drunk people, and it didn't take long before he ran into one. A guy came up to us wearing shorts, a Celine Dion tank top, and a baseball hat that said, "This is my drinking hat." Sometimes these are just silly sayings, but on this guy, who was guzzling out of a giant plastic Eiffel Tower, it spoke the truth. He pointed at my plate, burped, and asked, "Are you going to eat all that?" I was planning on it. He licked his lips and said, "I'm really hungry." Stan pointed and said, "Well, turn around, my inebriated friend." He turned and saw the towering buffet of food and nearly fell over. "It's a miracle," he said. Stan rolled his eyes. It's a miracle he's still standing. Have you ever seen security guards try and catch a drunk guy as he climbed on top of a giant mountain of shrimp? I have. It was time to gamble, so I wandered into the casino. The casino floor is always a little intimidating at first. All this action, all these people, all that math. I found a seat at the $10 blackjack table and sat between Phyllis and Frank. They'd been friends for over 50 years and wore matching yellow t-shirts so they wouldn't lose each other. "Good luck with that one," Frank said while pointing at Phyllis. "She'll talk your ear off." "Don't mind him," she said. "We're like an old married couple, only we're not. My husband died and his wife died, and after a while, we said, hey, we might as well save some money on the cable bill. So we moved in together." She put her hand on mine and said, "So technically, Tom, I am available." Frank said, "Have at it. My body ain't made for hanky-panky. It's made for blackjack." Phyllis said, "It was made by pancakes." We all won the first 2 rounds. The dealer was going cold. Frank looked at him and said, "You're toast, young fella, and we're gonna eat you." The dealer looked worried. Frank ordered a round of drinks and we continued to win. Things were looking good until they called in another dealer, and within minutes, we were all wiped out. Phyllis said she wanted to go to the pool anyway, but Frank didn't want to go. He said, "At my age, anytime you take your clothes off, it's considered indecent exposure." I agreed to go with Phyllis, but first we grabbed another drink and stopped at the roulette wheel to put one last bet on black. I wasn't sure what time of day it was or how long I'd been there. Time means nothing in Vegas. Money means nothing. Your marital status means nothing. They say whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which means that a lot of bad stuff is always there, just waiting for you. I placed my bet, hoping that I had luck on my side. I tried to summon up all the good karma that I could and started to feel that if it hit, it would be a sign that I've been doing something right and the gods were smiling on me. I lost. Phyllis laughed and pulled me away. Have you ever had one too many drinks, went to the pool with a woman you just met at a blackjack table, and realized you were actually swimming in the fountain at the Bellagio? I have. Thank you, Vegas, and until next time, this has been Tom Papa out in America.
To see when Tom will be heading your way, visit tompapa.com. Always such a joy to hear your voice, Tom. You show that liver who's boss.
Roaming the campground out by the lake where we swam. We were hunting for snakes, but we couldn't find them. Surrounded by nothing, but the nothing surrounded by us. But it's just me in my room, with my eyes shut. Oh, when I was 17, my mother said to me, don't stop imagining. The day that you do is the day that you die. Now I pull a one-ton carriage instead of horses grazing the lawn. I was having fun. We were all having fun. Faster than I can, I'm not fast enough. Who is there to talk to that won't lock me up? At least God doesn't judge me by the thoughts that aren't mine. The snakes I couldn't find, I don't want to find.
Lagoon there, 17. And what a treat to share the stage with these three extraordinary sisters. Joseph!
Some openness from my broken kept coming around in a revolving door. Won't someone let me out now and make this go away? You say that you changed and that you can't fix it, but can I trust you again? Put aside the fear that I'm not the only one. There's too much damage been done. I'll admit what I don't want to. I forgave you for your mistakes. Someone, the one who paid. Don't you know it's such a letdown? I made it easy for you. She kept coming around in a revolving door. Won't someone let me out now and make this go away? I don't know who's right anymore. Ooh, ooh. I don't know who's right anymore. Ooh, ooh. Oh, don't you know it's such a letdown? I made it easy for you. She kept coming around in a revolving door. Won't someone let me out now and make this go away? Would I do it again?
Thank you so much.
Could have been the way the moonlight, the dashboard, passenger window rolled down. That got me thinking there's something we should talk about. It's not worth waiting out. I can give you space if you need it. You can walk away. I'm not leaving. There's pride in my mouth. I got used to the taste, but I'll swallow it now. And I'll be first to say those green eyes on my green light, giving up on control. You see red lights, I see me blowing straight through to you. If we're headed for the cliffside, I'm ready for the fall. If you know me at all, you know I don't need lights to decide. I'm not changing my mind. We could both play the pretender, circling round this parking lot, while one of us still remembers. We're lucky to have what we've got. We're taking the room for breathing. You can walk away. I'm not leaving. mouth, you got used to the taste. Can you swallow it when you hear me say those green eyes on my green light, giving up on control? You see red lights, I see me blowing straight through to you. If we're headed for the cliffside, I'm ready for the fall. If you know me and all you know, I don't need lights to decide. I'm not changing my mind. Thought I could read you, but I lost my place. Now we're on different pages. I need you. Thought I could read you, but I lost my place. Now we're on different pages. I need you. Thought I could read you, but I lost my place. Now we're on different pages. I need you. Thought I could read you, but I lost my place. Now we're on different pages. Those green eyes on my green light, giving up on control. You see red lights, I see me blowing straight through to you. If we're headed for the cliffside, I'm ready for the fall. If you know me and all you know, I don't need lights to decide. I'm not changing my mind.
Thank you.
Oh, it's just nothing better than three-part sibling harmony. Beautiful. Be hearing more from Joseph a little later in the show.
You're listening to Live from here at Town Hall in New York City. Stay tuned for more from our special guests, Ann Patchett, Tom Papa, Joseph, John Cameron Mitchell, and Dawes.
Live from here is supported by LD Entertainment and Roadside Attractions, presenting Judy, starring Renee Zellweger as Judy Garland. Featuring her best-known songs, Judy celebrates the voice, the capacity for love, and the sheer pizzazz of one of the world's great entertainers, now playing. And by the United States Postal Service, offering U.S. postage stamps for purchase at checkout at more than 40,000 participating supermarkets, drugstores, office suppliers, and wholesale clubs. And by T. Rowe Price, offering a strategic investing approach that examines investment opportunities firsthand. Institutions, advisors, employers, and individuals choose T. Rowe Price. T. Rowe Price, invest with confidence. And by Noom, offering a personalized weight loss program based on a cognitive behavioral approach with the goal of losing weight and keeping it off for good. Learn more at Noom, Noom.com. Get tickets, sign up for our newsletter, listen to past episodes, and watch favorite video clips at livefromhere.org. It's the best place to stay up to date with all the fun we have planned for this fall with guests like Paul Simon, Trey Anastasio, Grace Potter, the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis, Aeneas Mitchell, Dulce Sloan, and our Out in America correspondent Tom Papa. You can also check out the new season schedule and more at livefromhere.org. Live from Here is produced by American Public Media. Welcome back. Welcome back to Live from Here. It is going to be a heck of a week for musicians' birthdays, starting with Juana Molina. Juana Molina. Anyone? Anyone? I was introduced to Juana's brilliance by friends of the program, Madison Cunningham and Gabby Moreno, and I will forever be grateful. She's from Argentina, is Juana, and first found fame as a comedian, starring on a big TV show, but left at the height of its popularity to go after her true love of music. Who needs money? Here's one of Becca Stevens and my favorite Juana Molina songs. This is At Us. Becca Stevens as the amazing Juana Molina. Happy birthday, Juana. Play our show. Ooh, Steve Reich. Steve Reich. As influential a composer as our country has ever produced, and no stranger to our beloved town hall. Steve premiered the legendary Music for 18 Musicians on this very stage in 1976. 1976. But rather than try and distill all 55 minutes of that masterpiece down to 2, we thought We give you a taste of a piece that actually introduced a lot of people to one of the central concepts behind music for 18 musicians. The piece is called clapping music, and the concept at work is called phasing or phase music. Reich wrote it for two clappers, in our case, Eric in your left speaker, house right, and Mike in your right speaker, house left. They start with this 12/8 pattern in unison. The tempo, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, right? Nice work, fellas. The phasing happens as Eric offsets the pattern by 1/8 rest. So after 12 of these offsets, they'll be back in unison unless something goes horribly wrong. No pressure, gentlemen. You may clap when ready. Mike Elizondo and Eric Dube. Clapping a happy birthday to the great Steve Reich. Thank you for everything you continue to do, Steve. You are an inspiration to all of us. And we'll polish off this birthday segment with one of the greatest songwriters alive, Gillian Welch. The world is simply a better place with her and her songs in it. You always remember your first Gillian Welch song. And mine was a version of her tune Orphan Girl, which was performed by Tim and Molly O'Brien, released in 1991. I was 10. Gillian's debut album, Revival, wouldn't come out for another 5 years. And when it did, when that record came out, it changed the game. It served as a bridge between musical eras. Her music isn't contemporary or classic. It's both, or maybe it's neither, existing outside of time, somewhere between New York, where she was born, Nashville, where she lives, and everywhere else. Here's Orphan Girl.
I am an orphan on God's highway, but I'll share my troubles if you go my way. I have no mother, no father, no sister, no whole brother. I am an orphan girl. I have had friendships pure and golden, but the ties of kinship I have not known them. I know no
no sister, no brother. I am an orphan girl.
But when he calls me, I will be able to meet my family at God's table. I'll meet my mother, my father, my sister, my half brother. No more an orphan girl. Blessed Savior, make me willing and walk beside me until I'm with them. Be my mother, be my father, my sister, my half brother. I am an orphan girl. I am an orphan girl.
One more time for Becca Stevens. Gillian Welch, happy birthday. We love you so much. Oh, let me make welcome back to the stage, Joseph.
Thank you. You always leave the light on. I can feel it, I can tell. All the way from here. Don't know what to do about it. You know I've got nothing here to give. Thought you'd be waiting up ahead, but you came back down the road for me instead. You always leave your shine on. It messed me up, it got inside my head. I thought I'd walked away, but everywhere I see your face. Thought you'd be waiting up ahead, but you came back down the road for me instead. I don't want to be alone without you. Yeah. Without you. Where's the time gone? I've become less certain by the day, but running into you like this made me feel something real. Don't want it to go away. Thought you'd be waiting up ahead. Oh, no, 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 but you came back down the road for me instead. I don't want to be alone without you. Try to burn a candle without you. Try to burn a candle more. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. Once you feel the buzz of a lightning strike. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. You've never been happier to lose a fight. I don't want to be alone without you. tried it without you. Ooh, ooh, oh, I don't want to be alone without you.
Thank you so much. One more time for Joseph, who is even now running to a cab to the East Village to play at Webster Hall tonight. And once again, dear friend of the program, Tom Papa.
Thank you, Chris. I love the origin stories of relationships. It's just fascinating to me that complete strangers can meet up and then overcome all their shortcomings and then just go the rest of the way together. It's kind of fascinating to me. And there's nothing funnier than hearing a story of how two people start off and they don't like each other at all. I love the story when the grandmother met the grandfather and almost threw up. And then it was such a great way to start a family. And then 50 years later, she's still telling the story. And he's sitting right there. Well, that's the way it went back then, you know? She didn't like him, and he refused to go away. And kept following her to work and the bus. And, you know, back then it was called loved. Today it's called stalking. So I'd like to read you an essay from my book entitled Your Dad Stole My Rake and Other Family Dilemmas. This is an essay about what to do when you first start dating, and it's entitled That Cute Thing She Does. A good way to analyze whether or not you can go on a second date with a person and then marry them and have children together and eventually be buried next to each other on a beautiful hill somewhere is to eat with them first. It's not a mistake that going out to eat with someone is traditionally a first date. You can get coffee, but this isn't going to tell you enough about the real them. Sure, they may be really annoying at Starbucks with a complicated order, but that's everyone at Starbucks. The reason why eating together is so crucial is that if you do continue on, you're going to share a lot of meals together. That's basically what a relationship is, someone to graze with. There's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, road trip gas stations, and vending machines. You'll chew gum, eat soups, twirl pasta, and crunch on kettle chips together for years to come. And while no one is perfect at any of this, the fewer habits they have that will make you want to kill yourself, the better. You could meet a beautiful girl with a great sense of humor who likes the same bands as you, but if she does something weird with her lips when she bites into a slice of pie and it bothers you, lose her number immediately. It's important to realize that these little trivial eating habits grow in size every year. That cute little sucking sound that she makes when she drinks will one day be the loudest sound you've ever heard. Earth-shattering, window-rattling, breaking the sound barrier loud, and you have to be okay with that. We know a couple who asked us to go on vacation with them. We love these people. They're our very good friends, and we will never go. Not because we don't care for them, but solely because of the way they eat. They eat with their hands like monkeys who were raised by baboons on the wrong side of the trees. They hover over whatever is served, spaghetti, chili, soup, and pick it up with their fingers and put it into their mouths. And then they chew, lick, and slurp the end of their fingers and put them back into the food and repeat. This is bad enough when they're picking at their own plate, but when it's something we are all sharing, I have to fight the urge to walk out the door, jump in a cab, and drive around the city in search of new friends. I'm sure they would read this with astonishment and disbelief, as they think it's perfectly normal to run your tongue over your hands like a cat and then shove them back into the hummus plate. And that's okay that they think this behavior is all right because they both agree that it's okay, and that's why they are married. If I had gone on a date with her, we never would have made it to dessert. But he saw this as a sign of compatibility. With each finger lick, he jumped for joy, thinking, what are the odds? I use my thumb to spread butter. She uses her thumb to spread butter. I found my soulmate. Now, is my wife perfect? No, she isn't. But her eating habits aren't grounds for divorce because I saw them immediately, and while I took note, I decided I should call her for a second date anyway. Eating out with my wife is like participating in a relationship obstacle course. I know when we go to a restaurant together that we will not be sitting in the first table the hostess gives us. Absolutely not. We will sit, she'll look around, and then my wife will find something wrong with it, probably having to do with a slight breeze. Her ability to feel a breeze is uncanny. If there is such a thing as the World Championships for kite flying, she should sign up because she has the ability to detect motions in the air that are so subtle, even a mosquito would be impressed. She's cute. I also know that after we've moved to 2 other tables, we will end up back in our original seat, having accomplished nothing but having put on a show of musical chairs for the other guests. Then the waiter will come over and ask, as every waiter has done since the first restaurant was built, if he can get us something to drink. My wife, despite working and eating in restaurants for over 30 years, will not be prepared for this question. It's a surprise every time. She will stammer and apologize and ask for more time and send him away. She's adorable. She's a vegetarian, although she eats fish once in a while, but not all fish, especially not the kind of fish that tastes too much like fish. She doesn't remember the names of the fish that she does eat, so when the waiter comes to ask if anyone has questions about the menu, she's gonna have a lot of them. So many that the waiter will have to excuse himself from the table in order to catch his breath and start working on his resume. And he better not think it's over when the meal has been completed. If this guy was rattled by the entree encounter, he may be put in the hospital when she orders dessert. She only drinks tea, certain teas, decaf teas. Her favorite is black decaf tea that, of course, is only carried by 2 restaurants in all of North America and 0 in every other part of the world. But God love her, that doesn't stop her from asking every time. I love watching the look on the server's eye when he serves all the other herbal decaf teas and she says no. He doesn't know what to do. He offers alternatives. He brings out the handcrafted wooden tea box filled with bunch of minty, lemony, no caffeine alternatives, and she denies every one of them, and then orders a glass of hot water. What? He asks. Yes, just a cup of hot water, she replies. Just hot water? Yes. And before he leaves, she pulls a tea bag out of her purse. I brought my own tea bag just in case. A tea bag that she has had all along in anticipation of them not having the tea that she wanted. At this point, I've seen grown men look at me with tears in their eyes, unable to speak and mouth the words, why? Why? Does this stuff drive you crazy? Are you hearing this and thinking that you could never eat or live with this person who acted this way? That's fine. You don't have to. I do. And I love her. And I saw all of these habits on the very first date, and I didn't mind. And that's love. Thank you.
Inspired, Tom. And inspiring. Tom Papa. Which brings us to one of my favorite parts of our time together, our instrumental break, Origin Story Edition. Lest ye think that the idols of my youth were all svelte, bespectacled athletes, we're going to play a tune from the pen and banjo of one of my lifelong heroes, Bela Fleck, of Bela Fleck and the Flecktones fame. And by the way, it is Bela, not Bella. And I'm not alone on this stage, by the way, in Flecktones fanhood. Becca Stevens, Eric Dube back there on the drums, and I all spent a fair amount of our impressionable years pretending to be Flecktones. It got to the point in my house growing up, and mind you, I had not met the man yet, where the phone would ring and I would say, "Don't worry, Mom and Dad, I've got it. It's for me. It's Bela." Sarah and Sean Watkins and I waited at my bandmates in Nickel Creek, waited at the door of a record store in Kyoto, Japan, on the release date of the Flecktones record, Left of Cool, in 1998. And when we got back to our hotel, we all broke out our Discmen, pressed play, and heard this. Excited to say these words. Please welcome to the stage John Cameron Mitchell. Oh, and Shannon Conley as well. Hello. And John, welcome back to Town Hall. I know you were just here with the Origin of Love tour, the songs and stories of Hedwig. I heard it was a raucous good time.
It was a very good time. I was crowd surfing right over there.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys do that?
Do you know we haven't yet?
What's the sound of crowd surfing, you know?
That's true. It would have to sound great for us to even attempt it.
Yeah.
Chances are crowd surfing is not something that has happened on public radio before.
I could see you crowd surfing on your back and wailing away, shredding.
In a cellophane suit.
Don't think I haven't thought about it extensively. But you are considering just the way that things sound. You have a new musical podcast, right?
Yes, it's called Anthem Homunculus, and it's on the Luminary podcast app, and it's got Glenn Close and Patti LuPone, Cynthia Erivo, Laurie Anderson.
Oh, what did Laurie do?
She plays my brain tumor. I told her I could think of no one else for the role. And it's got 31 songs. I wrote it with Brian Weller, and I'm really proud of it, so check it out.
Yeah, most certainly will. It's an honor to have you here, especially given our theme of origin story. Seems no finer tale to tell than this one, the origin of love.
The earth was still flat, and clouds made of fire. Mountains stretched up to the sky, sometimes higher. Folks roamed the earth like big rolling kegs. They had 2 sets of arms, they had 2 sets of legs, they had 2 faces peering out of one giant head, so they could watch all around them as they talked while they read, and they never knew nothing of love. It was before the origin of love. The origin of love. The origin of love. The origin of love. Now there was 3 sexes, then one that looked like 2 men glued up back to back. They called the children of the sun. Similar in shape and girth was the children of the earth. They looked like 2 girls rolled up in one. And the children of the moon was like a fork shoved on a spoon. They was part sun, part earth, part daughter, part son. The origin of love. The origin of love. The origin of love. Now the gods grew quite scared of our strength and defiance, and Thor said, I'm gonna kill them all with my hammer, like I killed the giants. But Zeus said, no, you better let me use my lightning like scissors, like I cut the legs off the whales, dinosaurs into lizards. And then he grabbed up some bolts. He let out a laugh, said, I'll split them right down the middle, gonna cut him right up in half. Hear the storm clouds gathered above, they cause a fire. And then fire shot down from the sky in bolts like shining blades of a knife. And it ripped right through the flesh of the children of the sun and the moon and the earth. Some Indian god sewed the wound up to a hole, pulled around to our belly to remind us last time I saw you, we just split in two. You were looking at me, I was looking at you. You had a way so familiar, I couldn't recognize, 'cause you had blood on your face, I had blood in my eyes, but I could swear by your expression that the pain down in your soul was the same as the one down in mine. That's the pain that cuts a straight line down through the heart. We call it love. Wrapped arms around each other, try to shove ourselves back together. We were making love, making love. You were the cold, dark evening, such a long time ago. And by the mighty hand of Jove, it was a sad story how we became lonely two-legged creatures. The story, the origin of love. That's the origin of
John Cameron Mitchell with Origin of Love from Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Thanks also, Shannon Conley, for coming. Ooh, and once again, Ann Patchett.
So amazing, and now I'm the opening act for Dawes. The first time Maeve and I ever parked on Van Hoebeek Street was the first time I'd come home from Choate for spring break. Spring was something of a misnomer in Elkins Park that year, since there was a foot of snow on the ground, an April's Fool Day joke to cap a bitter winter. True spring, I knew from my first half semester at boarding school, was for boys whose parents took them sailing in Bermuda. "What are you doing?" I asked her when she stopped across the street from the Dutch house. "I want to see something." Maeve leaned over and pushed in the cigarette lighter. "Nothing to see here," I said. "Move along." I was in a bad mood because of the weather and what I saw as the inequity between what I had and what I deserved. Still, I was glad to be back in Elkins Park, glad to be in my sister's car, the blue Oldsmobile wagon of our childhood. Because I was 15 and generally an idiot, I thought that the feeling of home I was experiencing had to do with the car and where it was parked, instead of attributing it wholly and gratefully to my sister. "Are you in a rush to get someplace?" She shook a cigarette out of the pack and then put her hand over the lighter. If you weren't right there to catch the lighter, it would eject too forcibly and burn a hole in the seat or the floor mat or your leg, depending on where it landed. "Do you drive over here when I'm at school?" Pop. She caught it and lit her cigarette. "I do not. But here we are," I said. The snow came steady and soft as the last light of day was folded into the clouds. Maeve was an Icelandic truck driver at heart. No weather could stop her. But I had recently gotten off a train and I was tired and cold. I thought it would be nice to make grilled cheese sandwiches and soak in the tub. Baths were the subject of endless ridicule at Choate. I never knew why. Only showers were thought to be manly. Maeve filled her lungs with smoke, exhaled, then turned off the car. "I thought about coming over here a couple of times, but I decided to wait for you." She smiled at me then, cranking down the window just far enough to let in a shelf of Arctic air. I had nagged at her to give up cigarettes before I left for school and then neglected to tell her that I had started. Smoking was what we did at Choate in lieu of taking baths. I craned my head to look up the drive. "Do you see them?" Maeve looked out the driver's side window. I kept thinking about that first time she came to the house 1,000,000 years ago. Do you even remember? Of course I remembered. Who could forget Andrea showing up? And she said that business about worrying that people were looking in our windows at night. No sooner were the words out of her mouth than the foyer was flooded in warm gold light from the chandelier. Then after a pause, the lights above the staircase went on. The illumination of the Dutch house was timed so exactly to her words, it nearly stopped my heart. Of course, Maeve had been coming to the house without me. She knew that Andrea turned on the lights the very minute the sun went down. Denying it was just a bit of theatrics on my sister's part. "Look at that," I whispered. There were no leaves on the linden trees, and the snow was falling, but not too heavily. Sure enough, you could see right into the house, not with any detail, of course, but memory filled in the picture. There was the round table beneath the chandelier, the grandfather clock it had been my job to wind, the 2 French chairs no one ever sat in, the giant mirror whose frame made me think of the twisted arms of a golden octopus. Andrea crossed through the foyer as if on cue. We were too far away to see her face, but I knew her from the way she walked. "She must have watched us," Maeve said, "before she ever even came that first time. Or maybe everybody watched us." I reached into her purse and took out the cigarettes. "That seems a little self-aggrandizing," Maeve said. "Everyone." They teach us that at Choate. She laughed, and I could tell she hadn't been expecting to laugh, and it pleased me to no end. 5 whole days with you at home, she said, blowing smoke out an open window. The best 5 days of the year.
One more time, Ann Patchett. The new novel, The Dutch House, available wherever fine books are sold, like Parnassus Books, for instance. And once again, oh, actually, do you know what? Can we talk for a second? Please. So I was, when we rehearsed this song together, and I was ignorant as to its origin, which is your first record.
Yes.
And you just released a new one, or not just, was it last year?
Last year, yeah.
Last year.
The 6th one.
And when was the first one released?
2009.
2009. So y'all are 10 years as a band now, and I'm curious how you feel about the evolution of it so far.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like you're probably similar, where everything we finish, it's like the day that we get that master, it's like, great, next.
Yes, exactly.
So,
you're already starting to think about what the next one can do to be different / better.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because if you live too much in the whatever just came before, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy. So it's always kind of, we've been always wanting to work. We've been kind of workaholics for so long and wanting to make new music for so long that this is the first time, I guess 10 years, kind of a marker. So it's kind of been the first time where we kind of stepped back and took stock of like, wow, how have we changed? What have we learned? Like questions that we probably should have asked ourselves a long time ago, but we haven't really sat down to do so.
Awesome. I love going back to the beginning of Dawes here.
One, two, three, four.
And I as a wildfire. And I can't let the day go. might say them wrong. Is it love as a mountain, or is it love as a simple song? And the moment that the two meet, has now laid itself at your feet. And love is not convenience, it does not cease at your command. You might take and leave it, but love is all I am. Love is all I am. I need a boundless, soft way to commend. Like you as a timber, and I as its tender end. And however long your fits last, I will live within your shadow cast. And love is still your stranger. It does not respect how much you stand. You might be love's reminder, but love is all I am. Love is all I am. I need a graceful, proud way to let go. To just smile and accept the things that you don't know. The losses and the gains blurred. The weight of these as last words. And love
to our special guests Dawes, John Cameron Mitchell, Tom Papa, Ann Patchett, Becca Stevens, and Joseph. Thanks to our house band and our musical director, Mike Elizondo. Check out video clips from tonight's show and learn about what's coming up at livefromhere.org.
Live from Here is supported by Progressive Insurance with the Name Your Price tool, offering a range of coverage and price options to choose from. Now that's Progressive. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much. That's our show from the Town Hall in New York City. I'm out in the country. The gravel road ramble all around. I'm out in the country. Gravel road, ramble all around, and the dust blow up to the cool rain tumble down. Good night, everybody.
American Public Media.